Hi everyone, welcome to the Melvin Journey, and we're bringing you a new segment on the channel. In this segment, we're going to be talking to international students in Russia, their life abroad, and whether they would actually recommend this country for you to stay in. On today's episode, we have a fine gentleman, and we're going to be asking him a couple of questions so he would actually relate to us, and then we know how life as an international student feels like in Russia. So our very first guest is your name, sir?
My name is Abinabinegus Wepia. I'm from Ghana.
All right. And for the sake of this interview, we'd want to know what made you choose to study in Russia. There's a whole lot of countries. There's Cuba for Ghanaian students. There's China. So why Russia?
Actually, the funny thing, when I was a child, medicine wasn't really part of my plans. But eventually, after high school, I made the grades, and my family somehow convinced me to study medicine. So, with regards to choosing where I wanted to study, there's this uncle of mine who studied in the Soviet Union. I think it was at Lviv Medical University. It's present-day Ukraine.
Okay.
So he encouraged me to, reach to try and study in the Soviet Union. So I had friends who were in Russia. I reached out to them, I asked them a few questions, and I was impressed by the kind of answers they were giving me. So that made me reach out to the sole recruiter for students who wanted to study in Russia, that was Rakus Ghana. And they helped me through the process. And yeah, fast forward, I found myself here.
So it's safe to say that you already had an impression about how Russians were like and how studying in Russia and stuff was.
Yeah, so the impression were based on testimonies. I had to come here and feel it myself.
Okay. So now when you came here, what was the very first impression you had about the country? Did it tally with your impressions or was something somewhat different?
Well, initially it wasn't entirely so, but eventually, whatever they said, yeah, it became true. When we arrived first at the Modiodobo airport, all I could just see was blonde women everywhere, and I was like, "Hey, where's this?" Yeah. Then we got onto the train, then we came to the city, then we see how like some of the foreigners were trying to relate to us and all that. Yeah.
Now, you arrived in Russia for somebody who has been from Ghana, or that is not the case. You've actually stayed somewhere before. Have you stayed outside before coming to Russia?
Yes, yes, yes. I lived in China for about 2 years
Okay.
before I came to Russia.
Now, I'd want to ask, as someone from Ghana, because me, the very first time I traveled was me coming to Russia. And I'd want to ask, how is life different, firstly abroad, and then in Russia from your home country, which is Ghana?
Where do I even start from? So it depends on the aspect of which you want to really know, because with regards to studying abroad or living abroad, there's a lot you can be able to realize or find out. There's the aspect of studying, there's the aspect of lifestyle, there's the aspect of exploring business, there's the aspect of cultural diversity. So there are a lot of things that in Ghana, um, like a lot of misconceptions that you realize that Russians have that Chinese don't, and Chinese have, Russians don't.
Okay.
You understand? So based on all this cultural diversity, it gives you a lot of exposure and prepares you like to be able to adapt into any kind of situation.
Now let's talk about the very first thing. Me like this, when I got to Russia, the very first thing I noticed was the place was calm as compared to we were in Moscow, as compared to Accra. The hustle and bustle of Charlie. The time then I was trying to find my bag. I moved here. The whole place was crowded, and I moved into something I would call a very organized society. That was my very first impression. I was like, okay, why are the trains moving in this direction? Why isn't there anyone telling us, okay, this is your train, go here? Once you had your ticket, you knew where to go. That was my very first impression about this place, organization. So I want to ask for you, what is one word that will say separates being abroad from being back home?
Order.
Okay. I think we're on the same trajectory when it comes to that. Now let's talk about your academic life. Because
Okay.
obviously you are here as a student. Maybe you might have some future plans, but let's talk about what brought you here. What are you studying?
I'm studying medicine. I'm in final year now.
And for medicine, it's become quite a field where it's more like, oh, my father asked me to do medicine, my mom said do medicine, or there has never been a doctor in our family, some stuff like that. I want to ask you, why did you choose the medical field?
Like I said, initially I wanted to be a quantity surveyor, but after high school, my family talked me into doing medicine, and look at me, I'm here now.
All right. So, next question would be, how would you describe the education system in Russia?
Educational system in Russia here, well, I wasn't privileged enough to have uni education in Ghana, so um, I don't think I really know exactly what happens in uni in Ghana, but based on the information I get from my friends, it's quite intensive, depending on the university. And I even hear UCC, they're saying it's crazy. They excuse my language, but Russia here, the educational system is quite intensive. It's quite flexible for some schools. They're more reasonable. They understand that you're a foreigner. So if some things aren't going well for you, you can be able to negotiate and talk to them, reason with them, like for example, to extend exams for you based on perhaps you going through a psychological dilemma or going through, family issues.
Something I never heard of in my entire time of university in Ghana, that you can go tell them that you are having family issues, so they should postpone your exam.
Yeah. Even some schools you can tell them that you want to answer orally, of which we do here. Like most of the time we answer orally. I think the grading system is like 3, 4, 5. So 3 is like satisfactory, 4 is very good, and 5 is excellent. But I think back home everything is just theory, 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 right? Yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
And one thing you know about student life is it's quite glamorous in the beginning. When you get here, you feel like, okay, I just have 6 years, I'm going to study, pass all my exams, and then I'll go back home, or maybe stay or go to another European country. I want to ask, what challenges have you faced in your education here in Russia?
First of all, is the weather. Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. The weather is very challenging, given that I'm Ghanaian. Sub-Saharan Africa obviously is the climate is not the same as that of Russia. So coming in here, it takes a while before you get adapted to the weather, because classes start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes in winter at that 9 o'clock is like minus 20 degrees, minus 15 degrees. So the weather is really not friendly for us. So the first challenge is the weather. The second challenge is the language barrier. Now, if you're someone who, you're not really a fan of languages and you come to Russia, well, there are mediums of instruction, which is Russian, English, and French for my school, for example. So if you're studying in Russian medium, obviously you have to do we call it подготовительный факультет, which means the preparatory course, right, for 1 year before you start. If you're studying directly in English language, you start first year English, but then they introduce some Russian subjects into your curriculum such that you can learn. But even with that, it's not as effective. So you still have a lot of problems with language barrier. Yeah. So the weather, the language, then the food. If you're lucky, maybe you know how to cook before you come here, then or you can easily get like ingredients to buy stuff and cook your own food.
Do you know how to cook?
But when I came, it was hard, man. But YouTube made it work. Thanks to Perpetua Isiama. Yeah, I follow their recipes, and I'm proud to say, yeah, I can make some good meals.
You said something that caught my attention. You said if you are somebody who likes to speak, or who has no problem with languages, and for that statement, I want to ask you, how many languages do you speak?
I speak quite a number of languages.
Quite a number is.
Yeah, I speak 4 languages and 9 dialects.
Okay.
Yeah, so languages has not really been a problem for me. So anywhere I find myself, I try to get myself involved in the system, get to learn the languages. Because without the languages, you can barely do nothing. Once you can be able to express yourself in someone else's language, they consider you family. And by so doing, it opens a lot of opportunities for you. Yeah. But if you're not really interested in languages, you realize that you won't be able to explore, opportunities that perhaps you can find in this country or anywhere else you find yourself. So I really encourage people to learn the languages, and then there'll be endless opportunities for them.
What are those four languages? So it's a secret.
When you meet me, you try to speak.
We'll get to that one at the end of the
Yeah.
video. All right. So we want to know, being a student, of course, when you come here, I don't think the very first plan is to be a student, but then you would want to do other stuff. When you get here, you find out that you have a personal life. You might also end up having a work life. You might want to balance a couple of things. And I want to know if it's been easy balancing being a student versus your work and then your personal life. That's if you have work.
Yeah, you know me personally. If you're an outgoing person like I am, I feel like time management is very important with regards to extracurricular activities. Because when you come in the beginning, your families, they're always there for you and all that. But as you age and you grow, because you spend a lot of time in this country, we've been here for like 7 years. So as time goes on, as a man, you see that there are some things that you can't ask from your family anymore. So you have to put it onto yourself to make things work for you. And by so doing, you have to explore other opportunities. Especially when COVID hit. I remember when COVID hit, life was really hard. Then people had to just find innovative ways of making money. Others were teaching English, some were doing translations like I do. Others were found ways to be able to help people send money, especially during the sanctions time, where there was this war in Ukraine. We had a lot of economic sanctions where life really became hard. So people had to just find ways and means to make money. And yeah, so far it's been so good for me.
So I want to ask, how difficult was it to adapt to the Russian language in particular? This language, when we are back home, all we hear is very difficult stuff. Sounds like the language of, I don't even know how to put it, but anytime you hear Russian in the movies we watch, it sounds hard. So how long did it take you to adapt to this language?
Well, before I answer this question, we had a lot of stereotypes with Russia with regards to movies. We watch movies, especially all these Hollywood movies. Then we see that all the Russians that are acting in those movies are the bad guys, and the kind of accents that they make when they're speaking, it sounds so threatening and frightening. Yeah, and also I would say that Russia never really colonized any African country, so people in Africa aren't really exposed or interested in learning the languages as compared to like Spanish or Portuguese or English.
I think that's something a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. So when you're very clueless when you come into the country, but when you come in and you're really dedicated to learn the language, like I was, yeah, they teach, and most of the teachers, I think they have like masters, or some even professors from the pedagogical department, so they can speak like French or English. Yeah, so it's easy for them to bridge the gap between like Russian and you starting off as an Anglophone or Francophone. Yeah, so eventually when you go through the process, it gets easier.
Now, the next thing is about culture shock. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term.
Yeah.
So have you ever experienced any culture shock or shocks here? And if so, which was the biggest one?
The biggest culture shock was that you don't smile carelessly at people you don't know, man. Yeah, back home, I live in a Muslim community where like when you grow up, and when you leave the house and you see anyone as a child, the first thing to do is to say hello, great, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whether you know them or not. It's just courtesy, right?
Mhm.
But Russia, I tried that and someone looked at me somewhere and I was like, yo, I felt uncomfortable. Yeah, so that was when I told my teacher, why is it that people don't really accept greetings? And she was like, here, if you don't know someone, you don't say hi or you don't smile at them because it's considered flirting. And since that's especially to women, and since like here is a very conservative country, they take their cultural values so seriously. So yeah, it's not accepted. So that was one culture shock for me here.
One thing I'd like to know is, how do Russians treat international students in your experience? And I'm not even going to limit just this to international students. How do Russians treat foreigners or internationals in general?
I think this question is subjective.
Very.
Yeah, I think it's subjective because it depends on city to city. There are a lot of exposure with foreigners, are more exposed to black people in the capitals and in big cities like Petersburg, Moscow, Kazan, Sochi, and all. But when you go far east, the number of foreigners become less, and those Russians are not really exposed to a lot of foreigners, so they they're very curious. Like some of them are taking pictures of you, asking you questions. Why are you dark? You know. Uh, I remember when I went to, was it Saratov or where? Yeah. No, Moshansk. Moshansk is a city in Tambov Oblast. I remember I went to a shop to buy something, and some boy came and said, "Mama, mama, смотри, type bakshot chocolate." Which literally means that, "Mama, mama, look at a very big chocolate." So in my mind, I was like, yeah, but I didn't take it offensively because obviously he's a child and very ignorant. So I just said, "Oh, you're also a white chocolate." Then we just laughed about it. And then asked me where are you from and all that. Yeah, so the exposure is different from city to city. I think in big cities like Moscow, they are used to foreigners because, like, since the Soviet Union, there are a lot of foreigners that have been studying here. So when they see us there, it's like, "Hey, what's up?" Some even try to like uh, sing all this, Tupac music and
Mhm.
all this R&B and hip hop to get to know if you relate. But hey, some of us we are piano people, so we don't relate.
Now, the next thing is, what are some of the misconceptions about Russia? Because growing up, we've seen Russia, like I was saying. We see everybody has a preconceived notion
Mm,
about how these guys are. So I want to ask, what are some of the misconceptions? And I want you to address them if you can, in the best way
mm.
possible.
Yeah, so I remember when I was preparing to come here, I spoke to a few friends of mine, and we're like, "Bro, if you go, you'll be killed. Russians are racist, blah, 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 blah." And I, I, I was afraid. So I spoke to friends, and they were like, "Oh, no, that's what they've been saying, but it's not like that." And when I came here, I really realized it because Russians are more curious than racist. So I feel like the Western media also, will I say, propagates or unnecessary influences the spread of racism in Russia, which is not entirely so. Because people are very curious here. They just want to get to know you and all that. Yeah. So racism is nearly inexistent, I would
Okay.
say.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's something that people should really know. That, yeah, the way we see things, when you actually get to experience something firsthand, you will know that it's not actually the way you see things always in the media. Now, that is about the racism side of things. Another
Mm.
thing that we know is that these guys, I heard, okay, that these guys sometimes substitute water for vodka. Substitute vodka for water. Whatever it is, they drink vodka instead of water. There's a sense of alcoholism in here. How true is it?
Yeah, this country is crazy. So there's a shop called Krasno and Beloy that is dedicated to the sale of alcohol, right? And alcohol is very cheap here, I must admit. So if you're one who really likes drinking alcohol and you come here, if you don't take time, you'll be uncontrollable. But Russians really love alcohol. They like drinking vodka, and they're very proud of the vodka they make here. So I think the highest I've seen in a shop is like 60% alcohol.
What?
Yeah, and they have like the normal 40%, which is vodka. They drink a lot, especially in winter. It's crazy. Like, oh, and when they get drunk, they are friendly and they want to be with you. Some of them are. It's an eyesore, really. It is.
Now, the next misconception is aggression. We
Mm,
have linked Russians to people who like to
mm,
fight.
mm,
The smallest thing, they want to throw hands. In my
mm.
opinion, I feel like some people from Africa are actually more aggressive than the perception we had about Russia. What is your idea, or what do you think about Russian aggression?
I think Russian aggression. I think all this is propagated in the movies because you watch a movie and you see some Russian guy called Vladimir or whatever, just some leader of some gang, and all that. But yeah, in actual sense, what happens on the ground is not the same, because here you'd realize that a lot of people mind their business.
Yeah.
They act to themselves until being provoked, and even that, it's out of self-defense. You won't be attacked for no reason, or you won't be, just spoken to anyhow, or yeah. So people are really calm here, and everything is in order. Like I said, like you can easily report to the police and to investigate and get to the root of the matter. So Russian aggression is just propagated in the news and movies, but in reality, no, that's not what happens here.
Now, from misconceptions to something we can actually see, food. For me, I be swallow person. I like banku, fufu, everything that I know that is swallowing standard for me. And then when I got here, I realized that the food is quite different.
Yeah.
I have actually not fallen in love with any particular Russian dish, but I'd want to ask if you do have a favorite Russian dish.
Yeah, my favorite Russian dish is borscht. It's beetroot soup. It's made from beetroot with vegetables, meat, and cabbage and potatoes. Yes. So I love borscht a lot. I'm a soup person, and when I came here, like that's the only thing I found closer to soup back at home. So I prefer a lot of borscht. Besides borscht, is there really any other Russian food that they have? Most of the time, it's just pizzas and fries and burgers, of which I think in almost any other country you can find. But borscht is Russia, like the way fufu is Ghana.
We need to get one of the Russians here, so we ask them that particular question. Now, what Russian food have you ate that you are like, nah, this one I don't do again. I'm never doing it.
Grechka. Grechka. I don't know whether is wait, grechka is like rice. I don't know whether it's rice or it's wheat or it's what. Like I don't know. It's nah. Grechka. It's I tasted it once and I vowed never to eat that food again. Yeah. So grechka, nah. I just don't like grechka.
So as a medical student, you're obviously going to become a medical doctor. I wanted to ask if aside medicine, you have anything else that is part of your plans.
Yeah. First of all, graduate. Then we obviously going to be a doctor. Then after that, there are some businesses that I tried in Russia which have thrived for me. And then I feel like later in life there's something I can explore wherever I go, especially back home. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that too when I get there.
So I know you personally, and I know you've dabbled into a lot. You've dabbled into event organization, you've dabbled into transport. You are a lead recruiter for, should I say recruiter or a lead marketer for a transport company and stuff like that. So I want to ask, how did these side hustles come about? Was it that you just decided that, okay, maybe I need some extra income or have too much time on my hands, so I want to do something else? What brought about the side hustles?
Very interesting question. This side hustles just started from a survival point of view, I must admit. And then post COVID, like I said earlier in the video, as a man, there's a point where you reach, you feel like your destiny is in your own hands. So you have to make sure that you be strategic about your life choices and put yourself in very good position so that you can be able to leverage, your abilities and what the society requires of you. So yeah, nightlife is. When I was at home, I really like nightlife. I won't lie. I enjoy having a good time with my friends because at the end of the day, come on, when you go to school and you get tired, you have to find a place and relax. So I got here and I realized that there was a lot of people who were equally interested in having a good time. So we just had to leverage the students relaxing and also looking at the economic part of it. So I think I met some guys, Kevin. Yeah, Shola, these guys, they really helped me to, get settled with the nightlife. They showed me the way, let me put it that way. And yeah, it has been good so far.
From the names you mentioned, Shola sounds Nigerian to me,
Mm,
and Kevin, obviously we would say Kelvin, so
mm,
or Kelvin. So it's giving something French. I
mm.
want to know how important is networking in your life as an international student.
Well, networking is very, very important. I must admit, networking has taken me places and has made me meet people that I doubt I would have ever met. And it's not only networking; it's networking, integrity, being a man of your word, and being able to nurture relationships. Yeah. So I feel like networking is very, very important. In that you, if you are the type that wants to get into business, obviously your public relations should be very good, and public relations is networking, because once you relate with people and they get to see the kind of person you are, it would be easy for them to support you, right? Yeah, so whatever you're doing easily progresses. Or even if they don't support you, at least they would also recommend someone that would patronize you one way or the other. So yeah, networking is very important for someone who really wants to go into business.
After the business, after the school, do you plan on staying in Russia after graduation? Because, like I said, he's in final year, and I want to ask if you plan on staying in Russia after graduation or you have other plans.
No, I have other plans. I have other plans. Russia is always home to me. I feel like сейчас я русский. Yeah, I feel like I'm Russian now. But yeah, after school, hopefully I would go home. Yeah, but I will always visit anytime I have the opportunity. Yeah, because this is really a great country.
We're almost nearing the end of our interview, and I want you to blow your horn a bit. You talked about networking. I want us to know the kind of people that networking has put you in a room with, because just to my knowledge, you have met with two different ambassadors to this country. You had a
Yes.
tete-a-tete meeting with them,
Hmm.
and I want to know. That's what I know. I think there is more. How many, or I say, how many big people or influential people did you feel like, okay, if I was hiding in my shell, I wouldn't have met people like that?
Now that you've put me on the spot, I don't know whether it's a good idea to talk about it.
The ones that can be divulged, you can divulge.
Yeah, but networking for me has come a long way in that it made me hold some kind of positions, and those positions have made me meet like really influential people. Um, I was the former Ghana Community in Russia secretary. All the Ghanaians in Russia, I was their former deputy financial secretary, and
Responsibility.
that putting that kind of responsibility on and like managing the finances of a whole diasporan community here is not an easy task. So yeah, that made me. I met the former ambassador to Ghana, and I think the previous one and the current one, and then the president of the cabinet of the Ghanaian community in Russia. They are very good friends of mine, including the councillor and the deputy councillor. I've met like Dr. Obeng, who is based in Petersburg. He has companies here who, they try and bridge the gap between Russian and African businesses. His company is called Obeng Prime. You can check it out on Google. I've met the mayor of the city, Tambov Oblast, out of networking
If you
because
didn't say it, I was going to say it for you.
yeah, his son, he came to a party of mine and he liked the way I interacted with him and he invited me to their house. I've met the owner of um how do you call, there's a factory in Raskazovo that produces like cloth. I think they buy barn from New Zealand and Australia. Yeah, the owner too is a very good friend of mine. I used to teach his daughter English language. Yeah, and yeah, quite a number of prominent people out of networking. So if not for that, I wouldn't really have been there. So I really encourage people to network. It doesn't take a lot from you. Yeah, you just know who you are, be valuable to people's life, be respectful, be useful, and yeah, things will fall in your place.
Now I want to ask, what advice would you give someone who's considering studying in Russia? Because obviously there are people who are considering studying in other countries, and some of them are how should I say, they are closing down on the Russian option. It's almost becoming Russia for them. What advice would you give people who are planning to study in Russia? Or if they've not decided, why would you urge them to choose Russia?
I encourage anyone who wants to really study in Russia because Russia is a safe place, first of all. The security here is good. There's very low standard of living. The quality of education is good. There are a lot of opportunities you can explore, ranging from finance to agribusiness to, nightlife. There are a lot of opportunities. Low tuition fees. And Russia is the fourth biggest economy in the world. And for people who, for example, my brother, he's into content. There's a lot that you can explore in this country. The content that is from this country. So people who also maybe want to be doing content creation as a side hustle, I really encourage Russia as a place that you should come. So, in summary, choose Russia. Choose Russia. Choose Russia.
If you could go back in time, and I feel like we've already had the answer to this question. If you could go back in time, would you choose to study in Russia? As we just need a yes or no for this one.
Yes, I would study here.
Why?
Yeah, I think I already explained it, but yeah, Russia has been good to me personally. I don't know where I would have been or how my life would have turned out if I didn't come here. The country has made me. I became a man in this country. When I came here, I was really young, and yeah, I'm quite elderly now. This country has made me see a lot of things from different perspectives. They say when you go to a place, you have to make the place go through you. You don't go through the place, right? So I can say that this country has gone through me, and it's really shaped my choices with regards to my career and things I want to do in life. Had I not come here, those things wouldn't have been in my mind right now. So yeah, I would always choose Russia.
Now let's end the interview with this. I want to ask, what is one phrase that every international student should know? One Russian phrase, sentence, or word that every international student is supposed to know.
Da.
What does that mean?
That means yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wepia, for honoring our invitation. It's been a very eventful conversation on the channel, and we're going to give you these last few minutes to have a word with our viewers.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. It feels so good to be interviewed and share my experiences with viewers. Please subscribe to the channel. Yeah, he's doing very well, and I must commend you for the good work you're doing. I hope that you would go places.
Very soon we global. All right, guys. So this has been another section, a very new segment with TMJ, and I'll see you guys in the next one.